Before you begin polishing for competition work, you want to make sure that you have removed all the dust from all the way around the cuticle area. Make sure you are pulling back the cuticle along the sides, and that underneath you have removed all of the dust that's under there, so it's nice and clean. This would be an example of a Salon Success nail with a extended nail bed. And you will be able to see from this angle right here that there is a little bit of thickness at the tip, and that's going to be important to note and to take care of when we do the polishing. This is a trick for getting in very tight around the cuticle area. What you can do is you can start with a non-porous surface and drop a little bit of your polish onto that. Then with a smaller brush, it's a smaller, flat, oval brush, I load that brush up with the polish, and then I get in really tight around the cuticle area. It sometimes is a little bit easier to get in close with this brush than with the polish brush. So as I'm getting in close, I'm making sure that it gets all the way down. You don't have to worry about getting the application smooth over the nail at this point. Right now you're just concentrating on getting it all the way to the skin without touching it. You don't want to make sure you miss any part of that nail. Then you can just feather over the top. And again, this first isn't going to be the prettiest. The second part of the first coat, yep, that's better, is now you want to go over the entire nail with the brush so that it is a nice smooth application. Now you can get close, but you don't have to get as close to the nail. And you would just want to be careful not to touch so that you have a nice smooth application. The only thing that we don't have right now is this, and you can see, is this little bit of a white edge. You want to make sure you brush off excess polish, and you just, thank you. You want to just make sure you just touch the end of that brush. The only thing that we might be missing here is there's a slight line right here along the edge that we need to make sure that we get with the on both sides with the polish brush. Here's that edge that's missing on this side, so we definitely need to make sure that we hit those areas. Those are two very common areas that are missed when applying polish for a competition. So this is just your first coat of polish, but you can see when you pull back the cuticle that this polish, and you do want to pull that cuticle back as you're polishing to make sure that you've hit every area of that nail. So we're going to apply the second coat, this pretty much the same way, but this time we're going to hit those edges. I'm not going to use the small brush because I already got in very tight around the cuticle area. So I'm going to try and keep my finger out of the way. And I'm going to apply. Get the brush real close, but don't touch. Pull the skin back. And now on this side, the side that you saw that we missed, I'm making sure I get on there. Make sure you have enough polish on your brush. Put this down a little bit. There we go. Yeah. Now we're going to get this side. Again, we're going to get very close with the corner of the brush, but we're not going to touch. And I'm going to pull it back, because remember, this was the side that is very frequently missed, where there's a whole edge that's not covered. There, we now got that. And now add a little bit more polish to your brush to make it a nice even application. If you have touched, you want to remove polish at this time. Now I want to show you the mistakes that I've made already with polishing this one finger. And it might not be very obvious at the moment, but as soon as I show you a close-up, you're going to see this. So right off the bat, I can tell you there's a small amount touching the cuticle right back here. So we're going to want to remove that. Then the other thing is once you pull down the skin, you will see that a little more has touched just by the skin coming up and resting on the wet polished nail. Let's take a look at this side real close. Same thing there. When the skin came up, it touched. That is very common. And basically what you want to do when you are competing is you want to apply the red to all 5 fingers and let them dry for a little bit while you're working on the other hand. Then you want to come back and you want to make your adjustments that way. What you don't want to see is you don't want to see any polish on the back side, and you can see there's the rest of the mistake right there. You can see polish on the backs of the nail. But I want to show you a couple very simple and easy tricks to removing that polish that's on the back side and on the skin. Okay, so here we're going to make some adjustments. And we're going to remove polish. What I've done is I've loaded my brush up with the acetone, and I'm just using the acetone on the brush to lift off any excess polish. The other thing that you can do, if this line isn't as smooth as it needs to be, you can use you can touch down a little bit with the acetone on your brush to smooth out this line so it's perfectly smooth. A little bit of acetone right back here. And then the same thing when you want to remove polish from the skin. You will remove it with the acetone on your brush. Wipe it off on your clean paper towel and repeat until it's removed, so that it's nice and clean and that entire edge is covered. Now the product that is on the polish that is on the underside of the nail is removed the same way. And the thing is, you just don't want to get a lot of acetone on your brush. But when you remove it with your brush instead of with a Q-tip, you're less likely to remove polish that is on the actual tip itself this way, because you want that whole tip to be covered, but you don't want it seeping around to the other side of the nail. And when you use a Q-tip and you use this motion with your Q-tip, sometimes the Q-tip pushes over onto the edge and removes too much polish at the edge. So this is how you want to remove your product. Now I want to just make sure that I get this side, because remember it rolled up onto the right there. I'm going to turn her hand a little bit further like this. Same thing, a little bit of product or polish on the skin. Little acetone on the small brush works wonders for just removing it. And the same thing, double check that whole line. I'm wondering if I'm looking at polish on the, I think I'm looking at polish on the underside. Yep, right there. I had a little bit of polish along that edge, and you want to make sure that is gone, because the judges will take points off for that right there. If you have too much acetone on your brush, it'll just kind of smear, but that's why you want to keep a nice clean brush. There, and make sure that comes off. So now your whole edge underneath that nail should look good. Same thing on this side. Right here, you want to check on this side of the nail as well to make sure that it's nice and clean underneath that nail. Okay, so all the way around. You've straightened out your line with your acetone on your brush around the cuticle area, and pulled the skin down all the way around the entire side of the brush. And that would be your application, your red polish application for a competition style nail. That is what the judges will be looking for, and that is where you will receive point deductions if you have that polish underneath. This would be a point deduction as well. If it's on the skin underneath the nail, you want to make sure that's removed too. And again, that removes best with acetone on a brush. Like that. There you go. Okay. If you are going to apply oil, if the competition rules state that you can use oil. You want to make sure that this nail is done at least 15 minutes before you apply the oil, and then you're going to want to make sure you can rub the oil in without smudging the oil, preferably a half an hour, because you do not want to smudge this right before sending your model off to the judges. The other thing is, if you just apply oil and let it be, then you're going to get point deductions for having oil pooled around the nails. So you want to be very careful when it comes to applying oil with a polished nail.